Hello everyone, welcome here again. Tonight I'm doing this video with my friend from a long time, Lilith Dorsey. I have the opportunity to meet her in an event some time ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. And in that moment she was promoting an amazing book called Love Magic. We read with Weiser books in that moment. And from that moment, when I meet her personally to now, she's doing a lot of amazing projects, events, classes, and everything else. For who don't know me, with this strange accent, I am Llewellyn, and my friend here tonight is Lilith Dorsey. All her links are available in the description. How are you doing, Lilith?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, it's great. Has been a minute from the last time that we talked. That was on my Instagram live last year, in the middle of a very complicated time that we was having. But was refreshing talking with you about so many things because you are so smart and I really has the opportunity to pick your brain from time to time to see how to reflect on different things. I remember when I meet you that day in the Witchcraft of New York. Before that, you wrote an amazing endorsement for my book, The Magical Art of Crafting Charm Bags. And after that, I met you in the event. You was there with Lady Rhea, with Voodoo, Witch Doctor, with the Dragon Ritual Drummers. That were an amazing day there. And
I lost audio there for a minute. What did you say?
Yes. You want to tell me a little bit about Love Magic, about your book?
Love Magic? Oh my gosh, Love Magic. I mean, I think, I'm a daughter of Oshun, and we've talked about, me being in Lareglo Lukumi and, how I really have a respect and love for that tradition. And I have a love for Oshun. And they kind of asked me to do Love Magic. I wanted to do another book. And they said, how about Love Magic? It'll be great. Everybody wants love. And I think that I didn't write the Love Magic book everybody wanted. They wanted to know how to take their lover's underwear and burn some candles on it and make them love them forever. And I don't really agree with that. Like, I think if you're going to do Love Magic, you should bring the best love out there for you to you. Now, that might be who you're dating. It might be somebody else. It might be somebody better. It might be, if you got with that person that they would be sick or they would leave or they would be nasty or it wouldn't work, So you have to leave yourself open to what the universe is going to give you and that there might be something even better than you imagined out there. So I think that it was hard to write the Love Magic book because people don't really want to hear that, even though sometimes I think that's what they need to hear. So, yeah, but it was fun,
But I think that's the reason why the people really like so much the book, because this comprehension that you have about love magic is very deep. It's not a typical, oh, this is a love spell, just drop some candles in there and put some honey and don't ask why this is working. You literally go very deep in all of this conceptualization about love, and that's the thing in the book, because you put in there all your perspective about it. And it's like, okay, they put me out of my comfort zone, so let me try to create a diamond with this. And the book was very nice. I remember that everybody was talking about the book in that moment, because it was a very nice, different book in the market.
Yeah, I think it is different than almost all the other books out there, because I talk about loving everybody. I talk about loving yourself. I talk about loving your dog, your cat, your fish, your family, all of those things, because that's love too. And people need to celebrate that and make sure that that goes as well as it can.
Yes. So after that, after I meet you in that moment, for me, you were the author of this book. I didn't know too much about you. After that, I discovered that you are also a filmmaker, a dancer, a choreographer, a total artist, a voodoo priest, And every time that I throw those pictures with you or pictures of you that I take on Instagram or on Twitter, people say, you know, Lilith Dorsey, she's so awesome. She's the new voice of Voodoo. She's the queen of Voodoo. She's so great. I am so jealous. And I'm like, wow, she's really famous. I mean, wow. Let me take the spotlight. Let me try to take more pictures with her. Tell me about how, because that's how I meet you. I remember that someone talked about you to me, and after that I was like, yeah, I want to have her endorsement, and the endorsement happens in the book, and was a really good endorsement. And then I meet you, and you was so kind, so close with the people. You are not that kind of person who is like, oh, you know, I'm an author, stay away. You was so kind, and you were there with everybody, so connected with the people. And so I was like, I want to know more about her. So, oh, she's a filmmaker. Oh, look at these videos that she has. Oh, she's also a host in her podcast. Also, she's a dancer and choreographer, and you do a lot of different amazing things in your curriculum. Tell me a little bit about all of this, because it's a blend of so many things that so much people want to do, and you are doing everything.
Well, it wasn't easy. I
hustled
all over the place. It wasn't easy. I mean, I think I started out studying Voodoo and Lukumi and all the other African traditional religions because my daughters were young, and I wanted them to believe and know that there was a strong tradition from Africa and the Caribbean that they weren't being taught in schools, that they were being lied to about, things that, like, you know, African music was bad, and African magic was bad, and African dance was bad. And I knew that wasn't true. And I really wanted to celebrate that. And that's what I did kind of when I got my undergraduate degree in anthropology. And then I went on and got my graduate degree in film. It's a dual program making documentaries. So it's film and anthropology together. So not just how I was going to portray it, what it really means to these people. And since it was what I was doing, it just made sense to me. But I always loved making films. I always wanted to be a filmmaker. I was one of those kids that would watch TV. I would watch anything. I'll still watch anything. If you say, oh, did you see 90 Day Fiance? Yes, I saw it. I saw all of that. I watch anything. And I just think it's a good way to get a window into somebody else's world. And I think so many people don't know the truth about witches or the truth about voodoo that I wanted to get that message out there. And I was always a dancer. I just love dancing. Again, I'm an Oshun, so that makes sense that I'm a dancer. And when somebody called me up and said, do you know a dancer who could work for Dr. John and dance at Bonnaroo and in New Orleans and all these other things, Jazz Fest, I was like, hey, what about me? So, I mean, if I have any advice to anybody, if there's a job you can do and someone says, do you know anyone who can do this job? Say, hey.
Yes, I can do it.
I can do it.
Exactly, immediately. Why you are asking?
Yes, thank you. You know, so that was wonderful. It was just sort of luck, really, though. I mean, it was a lot of hard work, and I was, you know, I get around, like you said, you know, I go to a lot of places, I meet a lot of different people, and I talk about a lot of different things. And, you know, it's led me to some really good people and some really great opportunities. And I'm just so thankful to everybody. I'm thankful to you and everybody else who supported me along the way, because I don't have a big ego, because I feel like I didn't do it. All of you out there did it by supporting me and talking about me and you know, wanting to learn yourselves. And that's the real special thing to me. Not that I'm some big person, because I don't think of myself like that.
Well, we think that you are, and I'm pretty sure that you are, and you are inspiring. I mean, we have followers in common from India, Australia, New Zealand, and this girl from Germany, I think, and in Greece, that they are, every time that they put my pictures, is like, oh, you know Lilith Dorsey? Yeah, where you are? In Greece. And you know Lilith Dorsey? No, I just read her books. Wow, in Greece. Or in Germany, or in Australia. I mean, everybody knows who is Lilith Dorsey, because you have a very strong voice in this community. That this takes me to the next topic. You have this very strong voice. Everybody knows you. You also write or wrote or text. Remember that my English is the worst. For Pathos Pagan, that is the biggest platform about paganism, witchcraft online. You write in there a lot of about cultural appropriation, Afro-Caribbean religion, and different stuff. Being a strong voice, you have the opportunity to write about everything. You could take the easy path and just write a book on spellcasting, but you didn't. The last year, in the middle of the pandemic, we had this very complicated year. Was the Me Too movement about the woman, and we had this Black Lives Matter movement about everything that was happening, not just in the United States, around the world, but the United States was the center of the where was the spotlight. And in the middle of all of this, you bring to us this amazing book, Orishas, Goddesses and Voodoo Queens, that is gorgeous. It's a gorgeous book. I mean, the title, the cover, the content, everything. And the book, I say this to someone else, two persons that we have in common actually, I say to them, the book literally comes in the best moment because it's the moment where the world needs more empowerment for women, but also we need more empowerment for Black religions, Black magic, Black people, Black community. And during that moment, like, paf, I have this prepared in this moment because I'm psychic and I was ready. And tell me, how was this such experience for you?
It was weird, you know, because obviously I didn't think it was going to be a pandemic. We had all these plans. We were going to have a whole giant festival day for the book premiere. It was going to be you and me and Uchu, and we were going to be in DJ Ian's coffee shop in Williamsburg.
I remember that. Let me interrupt you. I remember that. I was so in love with the idea. Nobody knows about this. You contact me. We were planning. Well, you were planning, and I was like, yes, I will do everything. And I has ready my outfit. I has ready my class. And where the three of us talking about voodoo and the stuff in different perspectives, and it was like, wow, nice, because a lot of modern voodoo has a lot of influence from Afro-Caribbean. I come from there. I come from South America, so I have my little voice here next to her and next to Utu, and then the pandemic happens, and I was watching my phone like, okay, this event don't go to happens now. I will stay here in my home with my outfit, eating popcorn and don't going out in the middle of everything that is happening, and was a very hard struggle. And in any way you bring the book, and the book was incredibly successful. Now you can continue talking.
I know. I mean, I did want to have that, and it's sad that we couldn't have that, but the book has been so successful. I never would have thought that it's done better than any of the rest of my books, you know, and I think it's changed a lot of people's lives, which that's what you hope for when you write a book. But like now every day somebody tells me that, you know, I gave it to my daughter or I gave it to my sister, and it's really helped them understand like the great person that they are and the great people that they come from, this amazing society that worship the divine feminine that they'd never really known about or never were allowed to celebrate before. And I think I keep saying, you know, what did the pandemic make you do? Now, there's a lot of bad things it made you do, but there's some good things too. And I think one of those things was we did have the time to read. We did have the time, like you said, with Black Lives Matter, to sort of focus our attention on issues that were really important because we had that time that we didn't necessarily have before. So that was special and precious to me. And I'm so glad. Like I never imagined it would do this well. So I'm just so happy it's out there and helping people and they really get it and they understand it, and that I could celebrate so many other people that I know. You know, I talk about the music of Santo, the music of Voodoo. You know, I talk about a lot of modern practitioners in the book that I would not have been able to, you know, 20 years ago, because now there is more open and it is more understanding. It's not just voodoo is evil and black magic is evil. We can see that that's what we were told, and that's not true.
Yes, I remember when we made this video in live for Instagram in that moment, was a very complicated year. Every time that you see the news was worse and worse and worse, and was so much anxiety around. In the moment I was reading the book, and I remember it was the movement about Black Lives Matter, and people trying to bring everything about Black history, how important is the role of the Black community for everyone. It's not just for the United States, it's around the world, because scientifically speaking, and we believe in science, we come from Africa. We descend from Black people, and our first gods in humanity were Black gods. And this movement was, your book was in the middle of this, and a lot of people feel like, in that moment, like, oh, I have a lot of anxiety, I feel depression, I feel this, I feel that I don't have power, and something that people maybe overthink too much. Oh, what is a book? But when you find the content in the book is empowering for women, for Black persons, and for every minority. If you are not a Black person, and if you are not a woman, but you read the book, you feel like, wow, it's a lot of power here, and it's a lot of history. It's a lot about your ancestors, and about how you are venerating them, and how you are connecting with them in the middle of all of this ritualistic process and ceremonies. It's so much about that in the book, and I'm really glad, really happy that the book did so well, because I remember that I was saying to everybody, you need to buy the book because it's really amazing, it's inspiring. And every time that you share anything about the book, it's like, wow, this is really happening, and this is very nice. I say this many times, we need more women in positions of power, not just in the metaphysical community, in all the communities around the world, but also we need women of color in positions of power, not just in the metaphysical community, also in all the communities around the world. We need this, and see that a book like this one that was right for a woman of color is doing so well in the world. It's so inspiring, it's so magical, it's so nice, and it's so like, wow, this is reflecting, this is a total time of change and evolution in this moment for the whole community.
Yes, I hope so. We still
yes. Elohim, continue talking. Yeah. No. Something like that.
I'm just saying we still have a long way to go, but yes.
Yes.
I'm surprised that it did that. When I look at, I'm like you. I look at the book rankings and I see who else is in there, and it's nice to see my name up there with some of those people that have been sort of icons, but then again, also not necessarily people of color or not necessarily women, so I think it's definitely time that happened, and I'm glad it's me, and I'm glad that I could, also there's so many people in our community, and you have this problem, there's so many people that make stuff up or don't know what they're talking about, or aren't really, initiated, or they're giving advice that they just tried themselves yesterday, but my book has stuff in there. I've been doing this, the magic part of it, I've been doing it for 30 years, and the studying it in school I've been doing for 30 years. So it's not that I just started this yesterday and now I want to run out and teach it. I've been doing it for a really long time, and hopefully that gives me a look on it that will allow people from all different walks of life to come and be able to use it. I've thought of all the different angles. I've given this spell to 20 different people to try out, and I've seen how it works if you might be in Australia or in Latin America, or if you might be a man or a woman or trans or old or young. I've seen all the different ways that you can use these things, and I can use that advice to help people now that are reading the book.
Yes, it's really good. I really don't know how it works. I read the book at least 2 times before to do the endorsement, and was when you are initiated in this path, and we have the good look that we are initiated on this, and you confront that background. In Latin America, we don't have many books like this one, and the books that we have are good, but are very antiquated about the history, about anthropology, about the role of the woman in the community, about the importance and caring about the Black people inside of the religion. That is very important, especially when you come, for example, I come from Venezuela, and we are next to Brazil, where practically all these religions are starting to blend from the natives and Africans and come from their Umbanda, Kimbanda, Candomblé, Lukumi, all of this. And you see that this has so much Black influence, but when you are in Venezuela, you see so many people that look like me or more white than me. So it feels like we are not really raising voices here, feels uncomfortable because people is having a Black religion without Black people. It feels a little weird sometimes. But in any way you make that in the book, you put a lot of importance on this, but at the same time, you invite to everybody to learn. And it's like, okay, you are different, you look different, you feel different, you are welcome here. But first, please take the time to read the history and understand how this was created. And that's very nice.
Yeah, I mean, in New Orleans, we have a lot of stores, a lot of groups that are all white people. And I don't have any problem with white people initiating. But I think if I was a young Black person and I came to that group and I saw all white people teaching me voodoo, I would think, what's wrong? You know, I mean, if you're the only dark-skinned person in a room, you get a little scared. That's just what happens, you know? So I think now I have a mix of students, you know, I have a lot of students that are people of color. I have a lot that are LGBTQ, and I have some that are white, and I have some that are white presenting. So we have a whole mix of people in there. And what I tell people usually is to find a community. If you join the community, then that's your family, and they have your back, and they care about you, and they'll teach you, and they'll guide you, and you can move forward with that community. What I don't like is when people do it all by themselves and then decide to, you know, teach people or write a book or whatever, because that's not how it works. If we look at the Orisha Shango, he goes back 4,000 years, you know, like that's a long time. Now somebody came by yesterday and said they're going to make up some stuff about Shango and do a workshop.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yes, I totally understand you. I have many examples, but I don't go to split it here, but I have many examples. Now, we need to move forward on this. You know, you work for different publishers, and that's very nice. See how one person can be part of different communities and at the same time different publishers' houses at the same time. That is very good. Llewellyn Publishing House, I think that is the name. They create this. It's like a small anthology of 4 books talking about the elements. When you announced that you was doing the book on water magic, I immediately just think Yemaya, Oshun, Olokun. She's perfect for this. Nobody can do this book better than her. So you write for Llewellyn, water magic, elements of witchcraft. That is a very heavy book. It's heavier than looks. It's a lot of knowledge meant here. Tell me about this project, because this I remember that it's very well known that I stalk all my friends. It's very well known. So you come from one day to another with just this surprise. Oh, I'm doing this book, but you never say anything. So this was totally secret. Tell me, how was the process for this book for you?
Well, Heather Green came to me. She's my editor on the book, and I did know her when she was working for The Wild Hunt, which a lot of people know as a very popular witchcraft, pagan, occult blog out there. So I had worked with her a little bit, and she said she really wanted me to do the water magic book, that it was going to be a series of elements. And the first one was going to be water, and she wanted me to do water. And I was like, what? Because I do not think of myself as water. I'm an Aries sun sign with a Libra rising and a Libra moon. There's no water anywhere almost. So like, if I look at astrology, I have no water. I don't even like the water. Like if you go, we were in Jamaica, I didn't want to go swimming. I don't even like the water.
So this is like the book on love magic. They literally put you out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting.
It is, you know, but I really wanted to work with Llewellyn. You know, I mean, I'd worked with Weiser on the past 2 books, so I was interested to see if they do things differently and how things, you know, go over there. There's just a lot of differences between the publishing houses.
Yes.
You know, I'm not necessarily saying I like one better than the other, but it's different. And I was really honored that Heather would come to me and ask me to write the book. And it was so exciting. For me, it was more of like, yes, it's a magic book. Obviously, it's water magic, but it was more anthropology for me because I could do the history of all the different water beings from Japan, from Africa, from South America, from Canada, you know, and that was really fascinating to me. There's guest excerpts in there from a Taino shaman that I'm good friends with. There's a chapter in there about the origins of the word water from a linguist friend of mine. There's a chapter in there from Witch Dr. Utu about the Niagara Falls and the rituals that they do there. There's a piece in there from my friend Mandy who talks about the 3 waters in Pittsburgh. So I really wanted it to be this. I was pulling information about water from all over the world, from all different cultures, from different places. I talk about the sacred places all over the world. That was funny because it was the pandemic and I really thought everybody was going to get to go to these places like, oh, I can go to this waterfall and this sacred river in the top of Tibet, and then nobody went anywhere. But I think it was good too that it came out during the pandemic because it allowed people to see that their bodies are made of water, their brains are made of water. They don't have to go across the world to find this water. They don't have to go to Bath or to Mexico or to any of these places. They have sacred water coming through the faucet in their house. They have it in their bodies. They have it in the lakes and the rivers and all those things near them. So it allowed people to see their own environment and themselves in a more magical way. And that was really, I think, the fun part of writing it.
Yes, probably has A or I don't know. But when you say that you don't know why they choose you, but when I see that you was working in the book, I immediately say yes. Don't feel odd or weird because in the moment that I meet you, I remember that you have this charismatic personality, and that day I remember that you have your hair with a lot of paint, and you have this dress very fresh, very summer, and you were dancing with Utu and the drummers. And the next year, or the next one, I'm not really sure chronologically, you was, I see you again, you was with your hair in that moment like blue with green, and all of this amazing makeup, and the umbrella that was very watery, and the dress, the blue dress, and you look like some kind of water witch in that moment. So when I see the book, was like, yeah, she's the adequate person for this. Probably they take some inspiration on that.
No, I agree, but I didn't see myself that way. That's the funny thing, you know. I didn't see myself that way. Other people did, but I didn't see myself that way, you know. I mean, obviously, Ochun, Yemaya, you know, like I've always lived near water, you know. I grew up in Brooklyn, right next to the Verrazano Bridge, and then, you know, now I live here in New Orleans next to the Mississippi and the canal, and not that far from the lake.
So I remember that when you moved to New Orleans, you were sharing the story that you had a lot of water in your home, around and inside of your home. I remember that. It was very funny because it was a very complicated situation where probably nobody else could be laughing and you were enjoying, you know, this is happening here.
Yeah. I mean, I knew that they flooded in New Orleans, but I didn't know my backyard would flood every time it rains. So it was funny because I was in the middle of doing a workshop for Llewellyn about water magic. And I was like, all right, let's go outside in the swamp.
Exactly.
And I'll be lady of the lake and I will stand there and I will just talk about the workshop. So yeah. It's fine. The house was fine. We're good, you know.
Yes, you survived. And now, coming for something more new, you were working with Warlock Press, and you were doing a reedition or reissue of one of your first books that is now Voodoo and African Traditional Religion. or Voodoo, Voodoo and African traditional religion. I have it good. With the foreword of our friend Saint Elias.
Yes.
I don't meet personally yet, but I really like him. You have this gorgeous cover. The quality of the book is very nice. It's very shiny. It's very like you. And the content on the book is really amazing. I like it. I take as a reference for my workshop based on Candomblé and Lukumi. I take this book and I recommend the book. I have a very long list of books in Spanish, French, Portuguese, and English that I recommend in the end of every class. And this is one of those books because I have opportunity to read it. Yes, it's very nice, especially because I was looking information about Candomblé because I have many years studying Candomblé. Personally, I read a lot of books in Portuguese and in Spanish. I translate a lot of material and many times feels odd. Feels like there's something here that is not adequate to the religion. It's not like blending with everything else. When you put here with all of this historical basement that you relate with the origin of the Afrocaribeno, it just feels like, oh, now I have the information, that little clue that I was looking for all of these years to put in the class. Tell me, how was this process for you?
Well, the first time, because it was first released in 2004, so the first time I wrote it, I wanted it to be an introduction to all the different religions. So if you were in Candomblé and you went to a Voodoo ceremony, what would be similar? What would be different? How you should act? What the offerings were going to be? Was it going to be Orisha? Was it going to be Loa? Was it going to be what was going to happen? So, and there really wasn't a book like that out there. And I don't think there is now, you know, except for this. I don't think anybody else came up and did another one.
Don't exist.
Everything.
Like don't exist. I mean, from where I come from, South America, we have access of a lot of information about this. Something that we have that don't have North America is we have magazines on this. We have very nice magazines. It's a Brazilian magazine that comes out every 2 months, and we have a Venezuelan magazine that just talk and write about Orishas, and it's a monthly magazine.
Nice.
It's very nice. It has like 8 years of publication, and every month you have a new magazine with so much information, pataki, stories, me, translations, everything in there. And it's a lot of information that you have there. But when we talk about books, it's not much material for a beginner. It's not much material for someone who has years of practice. Like more of the same. For that reason, I really like this one.
Yeah. So I want, you know, all those questions everybody always asks, I wanted that to be in the book. And that's still in there. But, you know, my godkids are picking this new book up and they're like, this is a completely different book. It is a completely different book than the first one, because I, again, put in things, recent people. I put in Rivaneri Prisil, who was just in the New York Times for her Fet Gay Day in 2019, and she just did a Fet Urzuli. I had a client come by yesterday, and she actually went on a trip to Haiti with Riva, so it's a small world. But, you know, there's people that are out there in the public eye that I know, that I've worked with, that I've, you know, seen and interacted with, and I wanted them to be in the book too, because it's beautiful to me that you and I can have this conversation. Because 20 years ago, we couldn't have had this conversation and had everybody think it was okay. There would have been like, you know, threats, and people would say nasty things and all of that stuff. You know, it was a lot harder than it is today. And you mentioned the Black Lives Matter movement. There's a whole new chapter in here about honoring George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and how you can connect with your ancestors and honor all the people that have passed over the years at the hands of, you know, evil people, the police, all of these things. And that's so important to me. I had a goddaughter that is in Portland, and she was out in the street protesting when people disappearing in vans. And I made gree for her. I made baths. I told her what to put in the bath, and just to be safe, so she could go out and take pictures of this and stand up with everybody and say, it's not fair, it's not right, you know. So that work was so important to me. because I do have so many, my own children, my godchildren are people of color, are LGBTQ people that are out there, and it's still a dangerous world for them. And I wanted to put something in there that would help them be protected and they could still stand up for their rights.
Exactly. One of the things here, I steal your spotlight for a moment, just for a moment. One of the things that I teach on my classes is one of the most important things about Afro-Caribbean traditions is always remember, don't care which is the tradition, if it's Candomblé, Umbanda, Kimbanda, Palmayombe, Lukumi, whatever it is, do you need to remember that these people, the Africans, the natives, they were taken from their land, they were mistreated, they were killed, they were treated in so many bad ways, they were slaves, and they were brought to America, and they find the natives of America, and they're trying to work together in some way with different languages, with different religions, with different cultures, but they're trying to blend the things that they have in common to create all of this magical path with so many different ways. They did a lot of sacrifice. They were killed. They were enslaved. And when we're talking about these traditions, it's very important to remember all the suffering and sacrifice that the Black people take in the past. That because that is the foundation of this religion, is the blood of that people, the blood of Black people that was killed in that moment. And when someone just decides to ignore all of this history and just, oh, I want to be initiated because I like Oshun. I want to be initiated because Shango is so cool. I want to be initiated because, I want to dress in white. They literally ignore all of the suffering, the sacrifice, all the history that is so painful that is in there. And this is very important. And one of the things that is very characteristic of your work here and in Orishas, Goddesses, and Voodoo Queens is that you always make some kind of emphasis, or you try to remark that part. Okay, this is the religion, but this is the source, the origin of this religion. So if you want to be here, you need to be respectful about this, and you need to take this knowledge with you because it's very important, because it's practically our foundation. It's not just the magic, it's all the veneration that we do about ancestry and about how we honor the people that was before us, because we owe to them all the sacrifice that they did.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think that's the beauty of the tradition. When you're in these traditions, you say their names the same way that we say Breonna Taylor's name and all of this. We remember all of those names, and we give them food, we give them drink, we give them offerings. We take time out of our life to remember them. And we hope after we pass, someone will take time out of their life to remember us. And that's how we can live on, and we can continue to help each other even long after we've passed, and I think that it's kind of, in a way, it makes that, they died, but it makes it that we can still take some strength from that because we're here and we're strong, and we can remember them, and we can remember all the strengths they had and use that in our lives to keep us going when we need it. And I think that just makes me not so sad. Let's just put it that way. I'm always going to be sad about it, but I'm not as sad as I would be if they were just forgotten. That would be terrible.
Exactly. And that is one of the magical things in the Afro-Caribbean traditions and religion, is that every time that you are doing a spell, every time that you are doing some kind of praying or chant or dancing, you are giving to all of the souls, your ancestors, the opportunity to dance with you and live a little more using you for that. You are the channel for all of this energy, all of these ancestors, all of these spirits, and that's one of the most gorgeous things in this religion, that the religion continues turning old and old and old and older, and every time we have more souls and ancestors to add in there, and all of them are part of our companion in the end, and that's very gorgeous.
It is. And you're right. I think a lot of people are scared of it, especially people who aren't in the tradition. When they hear about trance or possession or something like that, they think it's a bad thing. But it's such a beautiful thing for us, like we can get rejuvenated and reborn and healed, and they can have a chance to come back and, like you said, drink and dance and party and have a good time. And it's just it's great. I love it.
Yes. It is. It really is. Now I'm moving to more personal questions.
Okay.
So I want to know everything about your love life. No. It's joking. It's joking. I promise it's joking. How was your 2020?
How was my 2020? Well, I moved.
Yeah.
I moved in May of 2020. So I guess 1 in 5 people in America moved in 2020. So I'm not in the minority there, but going from New York to New Orleans was a big difference. A big difference. But I love New Orleans, and I have a big house now, so that's great. I have a B&B, so if people want to come,
she has a big house, and she didn't invite me yet, but she has a big house. This is being recorded. Remember that. You continue talking.
So yes, that's nice. I have a garden that's not flooded sometimes.
Sometimes.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, 2020, it was quiet for me. You know, I mean, I was in New York in the beginning, and I did a blog post about that. I know you were there too. Yes. It was not like it was anywhere else. It was very intense, you know, and I lost a lot of people. And I lost a lot of people in 2020, unfortunately. So it's just sort of making me remember what's important, and remember to tell people I love them, and remember to be the best person I can be. I know that sounds kind of like la la la, but for me, it's really true. I just know how short life is, and you never get any guarantees. So I just try to be around people that I love, or stay in contact with people that I love, and just do some work and try and help people.
Thank you for the answer. I like it because you remark how you really, in the middle of all of this, you overcome the obstacles, you overcome the situation, and a lot of people take that kind of guidance and inspiration to continue doing things, because sometimes authors or writers or bloggers or artists, they are influencing a lot of people and they don't know it. And when people see that, okay, all of this situation, but you continue moving, you continue writing, you continue doing your stuff, you continue trying to look for classes. Okay, they cancel my classes physical, so I go to try to offer my class online. When people see this, they feel inspired, like, okay, she can do it, I can do it too. So this is very motivational. This is really inspiring. That's the word. It's because you are influencing in a very good way to a lot of people. In the middle of all of this year with the pandemic and with all of these political movements and everything, you worked very hard. You was in events, you create these 3 books. I mean, you was doing a lot of things at the same time, struggling, but you continue doing it. And that's fascinating about you. Now, I have these 2 silly questions that I like to do to all my friends. Okay. The first one is, do you remember which was your first book on witchcraft or magic?
Okay, me and my best friend, who runs one of the larger covens in New York City, we got a book for like very cheap. It was called Instant ESP. It was terrible.
No idea.
It was horrible. Okay. But it told us how to do visualization and journey work. And it also told us how to access our past lives through this journey work. So it was very basic. It was very simple, but we just used it every day almost. We would do journey work for every situation. We would do past life regression to try and understand our own selves. And I think that was really helpful, more helpful than if I'd had a spell book, because if I had a spell book, I would have went out and did them all, and maybe half would work and half wouldn't, and I wouldn't understand. Yeah. And this was more about focusing on me, you know, and I had my Rider-Waite tarot cards. My mother had a copy of Crowley. She still has a hardcover copy of Crowley's Thoth deck with, like, you know, paper in between the pages. Yes. So yes. She let me read that. So I understood tarot from that perspective. And I know that Crowley can be a little bit hard for beginners to learn, but I like it because it's kind of like a meditation almost. It's not that this card means love and money. It means like this card is opening you to the abyss of the sea of the, you know, like it's some crazy stuff. And you're like,
yes.
Okay, like I'm with you, man. Like, let's go, you know? So for me, when I was a kid, it was helpful because it was more poetic to me. And I could approach magic from almost an artistic place and from a place of magic was already in myself. And I could just go use my own tools, my own feelings, my own thoughts, my own mind to go and explore the outer world. And that was very helpful. But there was almost nothing. I remember you and I were at that Weiser thing. There was a meeting at Weiser for someone who had passed, remember?
Yes, I think that was the owner. That moment was Weiser, and in there I see you. In the moment I was with my partner. It was you, was our editor, and was a lot of people from Weiser in there.
Yes. And I remember thinking that when I was a kid, like 12 years old, I would go into the Weiser store. And they used to have a rare book section where all the very expensive books were. And they wouldn't let me back there because I was 12 years old and they knew I didn't have enough money for this. And I was like, one day I'll show you. I'm going to come back and write books for you. And so I'm very spiteful. And here we are 40 years later. But yes.
Very committed, really.
Yeah.
My second very silly question is, do you remember which was your first spell?
Oh, my first spell. I remember two kinds of spells that I used to do when I was little. I used to watch Bewitched and I Dream a Genie. And so I thought I could do these spells. Don't do this at home, kids. I would like burn candles in the sink. And I would I think one of them was a love spell. I think I was in love with Carrie, who was on the school bus with me, and he was like 3 years older and didn't really like me. And then I remember my grandparents being mean to me. So I remember trying to light a candle to get them to calm down and stop being mean. So that's what I remember.
Wow. Thank you for that story. Lily, you are working in any project now that we can know. I don't go to go very deep on this, but it's something that you are doing in this moment in which you are working.
Well, I'm still working for Warlock Press. That's great. I'm going to be doing some sort of publicity and book promo for them. So I'm excited about that.
That's nice.
I'm also teaching classes for the Powerflix Network. So that's exciting. I think that's where a lot of my international students come from. So that's always fun. Again, I can't get over there, but I can give a workshop to somebody who's in England or in New Zealand or something like that. It's beautiful. So I'm doing that. I'm still working on the B&B next door. That's a work in progress. And just sort of trying to figure out what's going to be next, you know?
That's nice. You're doing, like always, a lot of...
I know. I do a lot.
Sorry for that. Something else that you want to say? Because you literally answered all my questions with all the knowledge and wisdom that always is a characteristic.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. Yay. So I guess, I mean, you just said you're going to put all my links and everything in there. I want to tell people I have stickers. So if they want to email me at VoodooUniverse@yahoo.com, they can have a free sticker.
VoodooUniverse.com
at yahoo.com. I will mail them a free sticker.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And you owe me a t-shirt from Voodoo
I do
Universe.
owe you a t-shirt.
Yes, when or where you will have more, because I this is a story, people. I was stalking Lilith, like always, normal. I was stalking her, and she was selling these amazing t-shirts that day in an event here in New York. T-shirts with symbols, with series, with babies and stuff, and was very nice and very good taste. I'm not too much in clothes. I'm not much a fashion person. I always use the same two colors of t-shirts, but I really like it. I was like, I like this t-shirt. I really like it. And I bought that shirt today, and I really like it. And after that, I was like, okay, if I try to buy one every year in the event, I will have in 10 years, I will have 10 different t-shirts. Very nice. And that not happens because Lily never come back with a t-shirt. So I just have one that I practically use every day. And my partner, every time that he's look at me with a t-shirt, is, you don't have more clothes, and that hurts. That really hurts. It's like, wow, he's telling me that. Wow, that's the worst part, but I really like it so much.
I will make you a new Voodoo Universe t-shirt, and I'll make you a Manifestation Magic t-shirt too to celebrate your new book. Yes.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. So for everybody, the links to Lilith are below in the description, to her website, to Voodoo Universe, to her blog in Patio's Pagan blog, to each one of her books, and to her social media and everything else. So look in the links, look for her books, and I think that also she's working on a podcast about pop culture, witch magic, or something like that, with a friend of her. And that link will be here too. So thank you everybody for this, and please remember, look for Lilith, follow her and support her everywhere, because we need to support our authors and the people who represent us and the people who make these things possible for us. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Always, always, always.